Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Neil.
And we're excited to be answering your most frequently asked cannabis questions.
We'll be doing this through a series of quick, digestible Q&As with some of the most interesting characters in the cannabis space and the broader culture at large.
Today, we'll be spending 420 seconds with Lucy Haslam. Lucy is a retired registered nurse who became involved in medical cannabis advocacy in 2014 when her then 24-year-old son, Dan, was suffering from stage 4 bowel cancer. Lucy realized how helpful cannabis could be for patients like Dan, and so she embarked on a campaign to change the legal status in Australia. She founded Uniting Compassion with Dan before his death and has continued to run international symposiums to educate lawmakers and healthcare professionals. Lucy also co-founded the Australian Medicinal Cannabis Association and the Society of Cannabis Clinicians Australia chapter in an effort to tackle the many problems relating to patient access to legal medicinal cannabis.
Lucy, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we talk a little bit about this in your intro already, but we'd love to hear it from your perspective. How did you gain an interest in medical cannabis? And can you talk us through a little bit about that journey?
Well, obviously it was a pretty sad journey for me. At 2014, I was staunchly opposed to cannabis, but I had a son who was terminally ill. Dan had been diagnosed with bowel cancer when he was 20, and he was 24 by that stage and not in good shape, and we were pretty desperate. And he tried cannabis as a last resort with our encouragement, and we couldn't ignore what we were seeing with our eyes. It really gave him very much the quality of life that he'd lost, and probably the last year of his life was a lot better for having found cannabis. And I just needed to find out more about it, and I didn't feel that it was right that we were criminalised for accessing it for him. So that began my journey.
Yeah, and look, obviously sorry to hear that's a heartbreaking tale that unfortunately a lot of Australians can resonate with. We know that journey led you to start Uniting Compassion. Would you be able to give us a bit of a top line on that and how people can get involved?
Yeah, look, Dan and I started Uniting Compassion together because once we realised how good cannabis was for Dan as a terminally ill patient, I started to research, and I realised how far behind we were in Australia. There was so much education around the world and research. So we put on the first symposium in Australia in 2014, just a couple of months before Dan passed away. We engaged with the New South Wales government, the then Premier Mike Baird, who got very interested and very supportive of Dan. We took the fight to Canberra. So we began really to educate and to lobby, and we were able to change. There was a groundswell of support from around the country in 2014, 2015, and the law changed on the first anniversary of Dan's death in 2016. Wow. So, but basically, I'd said to Dan on his deathbed that I'd continue to fight until all patients in Australia had access to legal forms of medicinal cannabis that they could afford, and that it was a simple process and not what we'd been through. That's why I'm still here. Yeah.
It's an amazing journey, Lucy. And with some of the objectives around the United Compassion, how are you kind of formulating that group, and what is the intention, and how do you kind of action those items where you're, I suppose, trying to achieve those goals?
Well, United in Compassion is a very small charity, and I realised quite early on that this was a multi-pronged issue. Like, there were problems all over the place. Even after legalisation, there were many problems with access, and I realised that I really needed more than just me. So there were legal and regulatory issues. There were, cost and availability issues. There were, problems with patients, even finding doctors who were able or willing to prescribe it. So in just over 12 months ago, 18 months ago, we formed the Australian Medicinal Cannabis Association, really to put all those minds together to try and tackle these issues. And I guess it's through joining with like-minded people that have expertise in particular areas that I've been able to build a community of people that actively want better access for patients, and we just work together in whatever way we can. Doing submissions to the Royal Commission, for example, doing submissions to to Senate inquiries in various states. Wherever we see an opportunity, we come together and we work together to try and improve the situation for current patients.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and we absolutely applaud the work that AMCA is doing, particularly with trailblazers like yourself are involved. With that said, looking over the horizon to 2022, what can we expect from the AMCA and United in Compassion?
Look, a couple of our major projects for next year are the symposium's one for UIC. The Society of Cannabis Clinicians was the first project of the AMCA, and really that's about promoting education by doctors for doctors. So we're hoping to launch a not-for-profit, very comprehensive educational program through the Society of Cannabis Clinicians Australian chapter. And AMCA is really continuing to do work around trying to set up a compassionate access scheme, which is kind of a centralised point. So we know that a lot of companies are doing their own thing in trying to provide reduced cost or free product to patients who can't afford it. So we're hoping that we can kind of coordinate that and make that a smoother process, because I think you said to me before, how do patients find their way through all of this? It's so complicated. Every single step is complicated, and every patient finds himself in a different situation to others. So we're just really trying to smooth out all these hurdles and just make it an easier situation for all patients.
Excellent work. So with the compassionate scheme that you've got, how do patients access that? What's the process for a patient look like?
Look, it's just in development now. So it's in the hands of the legal teams at the moment who are working on the governance. And, we went to the TGA and said, look, we want to do this. We'd rather do it with your assistance than without. And they actually were very supportive. So that was a good thing. We're just trying to work out and anticipate what all the problems might be. And then we will reach out to companies. Some have started coming forward saying, look, we'd really like to do this, but it's, very ad hoc at the moment. It'd be great if we could streamline it. So there's a lot of groundwork. I can't answer your question just at the moment, but hopefully, 2022, we'll see all these kind of projects sort of that are really ideas and thought bubbles and, have small teams working on at the moment, but hopefully they'll be solidified and actually be launched in 2022. That's our aim.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is amazing work. I know from our perspective, it's education, affordability, and reducing those stigmas really are the big three. And we wholeheartedly believe without the work of people like yourself, Dan, and everyone else who has got us to this point, the industry wouldn't be where it currently sits. So for that, we want to say a huge thank you to you. We're looking forward to hearing more about these programs coming into 2022, and want to say thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Thanks very much.